There have been a lot of surprises for Alabama this year, but who are the biggest surprises for Alabama this year?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the literal best. We love you so much. Just love you so much. So, Jimmy, biggest surprise of the year. I mean, I think there are a lot of ways to go. I'm not going to even let you say this. You could make an argument Ty Simpson is the biggest surprise of the year. You could make a very definite,
definitely
to go from everybody saying, do you remember preseason? Everybody's like, oh, we're supposed to be scared of the guy that couldn't beat out Jalen Milroe. First of all, you and I have always said Jalen Milroe's pretty doggone good. He's not the best quarterback we ever had.
I remember having an SEC squad show on Locked On with all the Locked On guys from all the different SEC shows that I did back in January. And they were talking about Alabama's quarterback on the show and who the quarterback is going to be. I was like the only guy on the whole panel that said Ty Simpson was going to be the quarterback. Yeah. Everyone else said it was going to be Keelan Russell. Everyone else. And I remember thinking at the time that those guys, because I hadn't done too many squad shows at that point, I was thinking those guys at the time, as soon as the show was over, they're thinking, gosh, our Alabama guy knows less about Alabama than everyone else on the show. He thinks some backup dude is going to be the quarterback when we all know it's the five. And I was like there was like 8 people on that show. And I'm like, I think Ty Simpson's going to be the quarterback. That was back in January. And of course, it really took spring practice to start changing minds. And boy, Ty's changed them now.
Yeah, and look, I have no problem saying it. I was slow to get on the Ty Simpson train until this summer and spring and summer, I guess, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, dude seems to have a little something I can't put my finger on, but he's got a little something, and he's clearly number one, despite whatever, the coach is saying, well, we're letting them all, blah, blah, blah. That's coach speak. Okay, so you can't use Ty Simpson. So who would be your biggest surprise of you?
I think the fact that Ty is this good is a surprise. What I like to do is go back to, okay, what did we think? And by we, I mean all of us, me, Luke, everyone listening to this show. And I would challenge everyone listening to the show to think to yourself, what did you think in July and August about the lineup, who were going to be the best players on the team, who are going to be the most significant players on the team, and what has surprised you the most? I think that's a fantastic question every year. I think there's a bunch of good answers. Kevin Riley being RB2 for most of the season was a shock. No one saw that coming. Now, let's be honest, Kevin Riley hasn't been productive enough to be the answer to this question. I think the fact that he's playing a significant role has been a shock, but he also he's averaging under 4 yards a carry for the season. That's not great. But him playing a significant role has been a big story. I don't think Michael Carroll emerging as a co-right tackle number one. I don't think that's a big shock to people. I think Will Sanders, playing a fairly significant role on the offensive line, a little bit of a surprise. I think on offense, Caleb Edwards, I think now he's a backup, but he plays with the ones a lot. That's a little bit of a surprise because he didn't even arrive till this summer. So that's kind of rare. But I think my answer is going to disappoint some people, but I think Jeremy Bernard on offense, Jeremy Bernard emerging as having an argument as being the best player on the whole football team, launching himself into first round conversation. I think that's a big surprise to me that Jeremy Bernard is in the discussion of being one of the best wide receivers in all of college football. I think it's a surprise to me, although I'm not shocked, but I am a little surprised at how big Jeremy's season has been.
My answer is going to be less sexy than that Kathy Bates hot tub scene in About Schmidt or whatever it was. It's going to be that amount of sexy. How about Blake Dowd?
I'm still laughing. Hold on.
Boy, you talk about images you just can't get out of your head.
Apparently, because that movie's like 20 years old.
And I just can't get it out of my head. And it's bizarre to me. Like that Kathy Bates just got butt naked, and like we don't talk about that enough.
I think I would love to be like in meetings where TV people come in and pitch TV shows. And I wonder if this ever happened. So a person sits down before an executive at CBS and says, Matlock, but she's naked.
He's like doing this thing. He's like, look, I can see you now.
Like, always picture like with the great ideas of some executive's got a cigar in his mouth and somebody says Matlock, but she's naked. The cigar falls out of his mouth. Like this is awesome.
There was a great Simpsons episode when they introduced Poochie the dog, and I don't remember that at all. So it's Itchy and Scratchy, and like the owner, the head of the studio was like, "We need something new and fun. Let's introduce this dog character and give him a name that's cool, something like Poochie, but even better, and get it done today." And he walked out, and all the writers were like, "Everybody good with Poochie?" They were like, "Yeah." So that's what it is. Like, everybody good with Kathy Bates naked? Yeah, sure, why not? So
hey, we weren't mentioning about Schmidt we weren't mentioning that movie without
somebody's winning about Schmidt today.
It wasn't coming up. I mean, that wasn't coming up.
It does evoke
it was a stroke of genius, frankly.
It does evoke images of Andre Smith's 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, I guess, in a way. Anywho, my biggest surprise, again, not very sexy, Blake Dowd. Look, he's averaging 44.2 yards a punt. We haven't given him enough love already. We have clearly not given him enough love. He's only had 21 punts. I think in 8 games, that's pretty doggone good. That's a nice testament to the offense.
School of Mimes jokes all summer.
That is true. He dealt with all those.
He came from the school of, as we call it, the School of Mimes, which is infinitely funnier than School of Minds. Well,
in that regard, it's really shouldn't be a shock that he's quietly having a good season. All right. He's
44 yards a punt is fantastic. He was 55 yards a punt in the win. I called him a hidden hero, and maybe that should be a segment that we have on the show, Hidden Heroes. I think 55 yards a punt in a game decided by 7 points or less, that's massive because that's flipping field position.
Also, he's inside the 20 at 38%. I don't know how that stacks up. That sounds good to me. And here's the other thing, that the 44 yards a punt, his long is 60. Now, a lot of times when you have somebody that averages about 44, 45 yards a punt, his long will be something funky that got a weird roll, or Hurricane Melissa was happening and it blew it all the way to it was an 82-yard punt. His long is only 60. So what that means is he's pretty doggone consistent. Yeah.
And I don't recall, I recall a few that were short, but I don't really recall Shanks. And if you remember Burnup, as good as he was, and James Burnup was a really good punter last couple of years of his career, Burnup had Shanks. Burnup would literally miss. He would like almost whiff and miss the ball. Blake Dowd, I don't recall. There might have been a shank, but he doesn't consistently whiff. His bad punts are just simply a little short, but they're not short line drives because those get housed for touchdowns. But I think Dowd is a great answer. And for as much grief as we gave Connor Talty last week, because in our text chain that we talk about sometimes on the show, we had a long talk about how we would have been really nervous if the game this past weekend had come down to even a short Connor Talty field goal, as a recognition of, hey, these pressure kicks are different than other types kicks. But Connor Talty is, I think, 8 of 12, 9 of 12, I think is right. 8 of 12. I think he's 8 of 12.
I think that's right.
And all 4 misses are over 40 yards. That's not terrible. I know he's not a threat to win the Groza, and that's fine, nor should we have expected that. But 8 of 12 with no misses inside of 40 yards, I'm going to use the term acceptable, and I need a better word than that, because it's better than acceptable. He's done fine. We shouldn't be nervous about Connor Talty inside of 40 yards.
Unless the game was on the line against South Carolina, which I was definitely on the nervous. Now, before we go to break really quickly, I'm going to tell you guys something else. This is the God's honest truth. I have French cousins, and
Yonze Pierre.
No.
Steve
I like it though.
Stephen Boumois.
No, and I've told the story before about how, we told the Frenchman that came over, we're like, just all you got to do when you're in Alabama is say, tell me about it, or that's right. And if you can't follow along conversation, that's all the English you need to know. Well, his son and my cousin said, he went to clown school. I don't know if it's called clown school actually, or mime school, or whatever it is. And so we were all, kind of like, well, that's weird. He's also like a French comedian, and it's just very bizarre. Well, his mom told me the other day that he has a girlfriend. He also met her in clown school. And, we've all given the jokes about would he get a B in boutonniere or whatever. But
fascinating.
I know
it is.
Well,
really is.
And I said, okay, so they're both going to be clown. Like, how's this going to work? She said, I don't know. She said, but the other day, his girlfriend got a gig. She's going to be at a French wedding, and all she has to do is dress up like a clown and sit at the bar and drink martinis until the preacher literally said they're having this ceremony like in a bar for some reason, until he literally said, is there anybody that, wants to say that these two shouldn't be married or whatever? And then she gets up and gives some kind of French clowny speech. And I was like, and she's getting 500 euros for it. I was like, yeah, I'd do that, I guess. You don't want to know what I'd do for 500
segment was supposed to be about biggest surprises for Alabama.
I
was going to say, I think the fact that you have cousins related to you that are French clowns is the least surprising thing that we've heard on the show. Luke is related to French mime clowns.
Yeah. Well, and then I have his older sister, my other cousin, when she was 2, she was the cutest little French baby you ever saw. And they'd come to Lake City, and I don't know. I don't even know. I was 20 something maybe. And I just loved having, it was like having a little baby sister. And I'd throw her up in the air, because I'm tall, and she loved it. And I'd throw her up in there. And every time I'd catch her, she'd go, encore, encore. And I said, I always wanted a woman to say that to me. I just didn't think it'd be my 2-year-old French cousin. We go off the rails. Sorry, y'all. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at bigger payouts. It keeps every game exciting, I promise you. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And did I not put the FanDuel thing up?
NBA has been fantastic, by the way. Early season NBA, I've watched more than I normally watch, and because there's so many. Wembanyama is from another planet.
But they already have more 50 points, like the most 50-point scores at this point in the season in NBA history. Now, I'll say this too. There's a video out there. Go check it out. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Clay Travis tweeted out. He literally took 6 steps on a move, and he ended up scoring.
I saw it.
I did see that. Clay was like, what are you supposed to do with it? He's already the Greek freak, literally, and now he gets 6 steps. He got 6. I counted them. It was 6 steps. So anyway.
Must have been Ken Williamson officiating that game in the
NBA. Okay. So
he thought Giannis was dunking on Auburn.
He's so confused.
For our Auburn hate listeners, I threw you a bone.
That is right. Oh, we have one named Justin who will love that joke.
There you go, Justin.
That is for you, Justin.
That's for you.
All right, so, coaching stuff. One of our loyal listeners yesterday told me, he said, look, because I said something like, hey, you don't really know who LSU's interim coach is. Of course I do. It's Frank Wilson. He's been around the block. He actually was a head coach at UTSA for a few years, by the way. So this isn't his first head coaching gig.
Forgot that.
And apparently he's sort of a Louisiana legend in terms of recruiting circles. So what it made me think was, hey, this may be, I'm not saying it's going to be more of a challenge. I mean, we're a 12.5 point favorite apparently. So, and when you lose your coach like this, and Frank Wilson's not getting the job, I don't care if he wins out, he ain't getting the job. So if you're a player, it's probably going to be hard to put your guts on the line for this game. I get that. But what I'm saying is it may not be the layup I thought it was about to be. That's what worries me a little bit.
All right. What about this scenario, though? John Summerall is going to go to LSU or Auburn potentially. I think John Summerall, and then Frank Wilson ends up head coach at Tulane. I would think that might be.
Ooh, I think that, you know what, if you're Tulane, that's probably best case scenario.
Yeah,
because if you lose Summerall to Auburn, I mean, maybe whoever the new guy is retains Frank Wilson to sort of like, hey, let's ingratiate myself to but I don't know. I think that's a good deal for Tulane because they're going to lose Summerall.
Here's a group of five guy that's doing great that no one has noticed but me, and it's got a distinct Alabama connection. Remember Charlie Huff, who was our running back coach, and he went to become the head coach at Marshall, and I thought did a good job at Marshall, and inexplicably left Marshall. You know where he went? To the complete mess of a program, complete mess that is Southern Miss.
That's right. I did know that.
And do you know what Southern Miss's record is right now?
No idea.
6-2, 4-0 in the Sun Belt.
What?
Yeah. That's what that reaction exactly. My point is, maybe these big schools need to take a look at that dude who's on the Saban tree, by the way. Significant coach for Nick Saban, running back coach. Did a great job at Marshall. I don't know how he ended up going from Marshall to Southern Miss.
Yeah, I don't think
Southern Miss was an absolute dumpster fire.
That's not a trade up.
Immediately goes 6-2, 4-0 in the Sun Belt, and a major contender along with Troy to win their division of the Sun Belt and play James Madison, who, by the way, moved to like 7-1 last night. They were my group of 5 pick to make the playoff, and everybody laughed. And it's still worthy of a laugh. And it's probably going to be Memphis or South Florida. But I picked James Madison to be the group of 5 team in the playoff, and they had a big win last night, 56-21. And I think they're 7-1 or 8-1.
That is interesting.
Their only loss is to Louisville, who's ranked, and they only lost by I think they lost 28-14 to Louisville.
God, that is what I mean. The coaching carousel is going to be absolutely bananas this year.
LSU, Florida, and Penn State are open. That's 3 of probably the top 10 jobs in the country. LSU, Florida, Penn State. Only one of them is getting Lane Kiffin, if any, but only one. Who are the others going to hire? Who's out there that's going to really move the needle? Seems to be a lot of Marcus Freeman talk. I'm surprised he would consider leaving Notre Dame, but his name comes up for a lot of these jobs. That's pretty surprising.
Don't you at least have to factor in that? And I'm not sure who his agent is. I mean, I'm going to assume your agent is Jimmy Sexton unless you tell me otherwise, always.
That's fair.
But I'm assuming a lot of these guys are putting their name out there, or the agent is, just to get a bump from wherever they are.
Oh, that's a very good point, and that could easily happen. You know, an NFL coach who's very likely to be out of a job that I think might be a good college head coach? Brian Dable.
No, I agree with that.
That's almost certainly going to be fired from the Giants. He's got the Saban tree experience. When you've been a head coach in New York, and that we talk about the pressures of college football, but being a head coach in New York, I think, well trains you. For the SEC. So I think he's an interesting name. I'm not sure he'd fit everywhere. Joe Brady's name comes up. All the word about Joe Brady, who's currently the OC for the Buffalo Bills, had a lot to do with LSU's 2019 team. The word is Joe Brady would like to remain in the NFL and be an NFL head coach.
He hates recruiting is the rumor.
Well, if you hate recruiting, college football is not the place for you, because that is the job in college football. You have to love recruiting, or you will not love being a college football coach. It's that simple. But a lot of interesting names. One name that I think we ought to hear more of out there, because, this stood out to me. That stat, this is amazing. We're talking about these established head coaches. 3 of the top 5 coaches in the sport right now, in my opinion, 3 of the top 5, Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, and Dan Lanning. They were all coordinators with no head coaching experience. Yeah. And now they're 3 of the top 5 in the sport in their first head coaching jobs. So that leads me to say someone needs to give Glenn Schumann a job. I mean, I look to Schumann as a guy that could follow in those footsteps, in my opinion.
The guy who I can't believe is not a head coach somewhere is Brian Hartline, because his recruiting's been incredible. He is known as like the wide receiver whisperer.
Yeah.
And they always seem to get the number one receiver in the country.
He's
And
going to get a shot somewhere. Somebody like a Virginia Tech or even an Arkansas ought to look at him.
If I were Arkansas, I would literally sell out to get him. I mean, I think Arkansas needs to. Again, these things come in waves. Like you want, you go for the experienced guy that or you go for the guy that's maybe fallen on hard times for a minute or he fell off a moped or had a burner phone or whatever, and then you try him, and then if that doesn't work, you try somebody super experienced. If that doesn't work, you try somebody who is like the hot up and comer. So I think somebody like a Virginia Tech or an Arkansas, I'm like you, I would sell out for them. But one other quick note, doesn't involve coaching anything. Jira Edwards has moved up to a 5-star status on ESPN's top 300.
I strong candidate for best player in this class at Alabama signing. Strong candidate for best player in this class at Alabama signing. I will be shocked if he's not a really good player at Alabama. Shocked.
They have him as the number 16 player in the country now. He was number 23, so not a huge bump, but bump enough. And they compare him to Minkah Fitzpatrick, which I thought was quite interesting. And then one other thing I wanted to bring up, whatever Kelly Ford ratings is, I mean, and that could be anybody. Are they a thing?
Yeah. Kelly Ford. He is an analytics expert.
Okay.
College football analytics expert.
He has his current most deserving college football bracket. He has LSU as the 12 seed playing Bama the 5 seed. Okay, that's fair, because if you want to say, hey, I think A&M is going to win the SEC, I can't debate you on that. A&M looks really good. So then they have Vandy, Georgia at 9-8. They have 11-6 Oregon, Georgia, 10-7 Miami, Ole Miss. Now here's what's really good. Give me this bracket all day. So Alabama would move on to the next round to play number 4, BYU. And then they would play, assuming they beat BYU, they'd either play Vandy, Georgia Tech, or the 1 seed, Indiana. Yeah.
That BYU coach, by the way, Sataki, no one talks about him. Clearly one of the better coaches in college football. BYU's now, it took him a while to build it. Second year in a row, BYU's been really good, despite having what amounts to a 2- and 3-star lineup of players. They've been very good 2 years in a row. I bet that dude knows exactly what he's doing. Sataki, I don't know that he would leave BYU, because I think he's native to that program.
Need to tell everybody about Mazda now, because Mazda's the best. Y'all know Mazda's the best. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence wherever you ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Plus pick scores than anyone else as of August 2025. Look, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but with a Mazda. From smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like Bama players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, a little basketball talk here, because I'm getting excited. It's coming up. It's going to be here before you know it. It's going to be here Monday against North Dakota. I'm super excited about it. I know that a lot of people that listen to us, they want us to be all football all the time. Okay, but we're going to talk basketball. Listen, I'll tell you something else. If the softball team is in the college World Series, we're going to talk about it. If the baseball team is, if the golf team is, we're not going to talk about these things every day, because we know football drives a train, and then it's basketball, but then a big gap, then basketball, then a big gap, and everything else. But this basketball team is going to be pretty fun. Now, we talked about it on the show we were on last night, that, man, this Alabama could be really good and start out with a losing record in the first 6 games.
Yeah. I think Alabama fans need to, it's not football. You can withstand a loss. Don't freak out over losses. I think this team's going to lose a little more than the last couple teams did. And it's a combination of a couple things, a little flawed roster. And by flawed, I just mean, everything's never going to be perfect. And I do think around the basket, they're going to have some issues, especially offensively and to some extent some rebounding. And I think that's going to cost Alabama a little bit. The schedule is just insane. The SEC is tougher than ever, and you're playing an insane non-conference schedule. There's going to be losses. Do not panic. The goal is to improve. March gets here, get hot. And this team, I think, is built exactly for that. Improve, get scorching hot in March, because this is a great shooting team that we want shooting its best in March. When they're shooting the lights out, this is a Final Four level team when they're shooting the lights out. So that's what you got to build towards. But I think there's going to be some losses along the way, and that's okay as long as you're losing to teams who are threats to do things like make it to the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight. And I think that's the only teams that are going to beat this Alabama team.
And when you're playing in Chicago against a top 15 Illinois team, when you're playing in Tuscaloosa against a number 1 ranked Purdue team, when you're playing in New York against St. John's, when you're playing in Las Vegas against UNLV and Gonzaga, I mean, you're going to have losses. It's just going to happen.
When you're playing in the SEC against Florida and Kentucky, who are both going to be really good teams. Arkansas is going to be good this year too. And I mean, the whole league, Auburn's good again. I mean, the whole league can beat Mississippi State, by the way. No one talks about. They're
Josh Hubbard's back, and like,
they added.
Would you please graduate at some point?
They added dudes to Josh Hubbard. I mean, the SEC is brutal. 12 and 6 would be awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome to go along with, let's just say, a winning record in the non-conference. And Alabama's not only in the NCAA tournament, you're in the NCAA tournament with a great seed.
You're a 4 seed.
A winning record in the non-conference, 12 and 6 in the SEC. You've got the type of seed it takes to get to an Elite Eight again and a Final Four. So just don't freak out about the losses. That it's going to happen to this team. But I'm very excited about how good they can be when it matters.
Yeah, and I'm more excited. I'm going to be a lot more excited on the back half of the year when some of these guys like Amari Allen, Davian Hannah, and even Noah Williamson have gotten more SEC experience and big game experience. And that's why I think it's important to play a Purdue team in your own house that may beat you. I mean, Purdue is going to be favored to beat us in Tuscaloosa. They should be. So I'm not saying we have no shot. I'm saying they'll be favored to beat us. They're a better team than we are. But let's just go out there and roll the ball out and see how it turns out. But what you're going to do is play the best player in the country. A lot of people believe is Braden Smith at Purdue. And if, we get beat up, we'll learn from it. And if we play really well, gain even more confidence from it. So we got a lot of young dudes who haven't played in this conference or on this kind of stage before. Hopefully somebody like LeBaron Philon, it sounds weird to say, as a true sophomore, maybe he can be the seasoned veteran along with Aiden Holloway, and maybe Latrell Wrightsell can bring that little zhuzh that we need, and then we can be pretty good. But look, I'm looking forward to Monday. I think it's going to be a great game. I hope we have a great crowd, and I think everybody should be excited about it.
I think it's a good example of this is what I think is our best 5. And this is what I mean by there's going to be some flaws in this. I think the best 5 on the court for Alabama, in my opinion, so far, and of course it's going to change. There'll be surprises. But Philon, Holloway, and Wrightsell all on the floor at the same time in the backcourt. Well, I think that's the best shooters. That's the best team you're putting out there, but they're small. As a group, that's a small backcourt. As a group, that's a small group. So you're like, well, you better be good inside. Well, the best 4 is probably Taylor Bowen, who's a stretch 4. He's more comfortable on the perimeter than he is around the basket. And that's your 4 playing beside a small backcourt, leaving the true big guy on the court, Aiden Sherrill, who is that big presence and rim protector you absolutely need if that's your lineup out there. And he can give us what we need, I think, in terms of the rim protection, but he's limited offensively. He's not going to give you a lot on the offensive end. And that's what I mean by even the best lineup on the floor, there's some issues. And when you're playing Purdue and St. John's and Gonzaga and UNLV and an SEC schedule, it's not always going to end great. But how good can that be when Philon, Reitzel, and Holloway and Bo Bowen can't miss. Good luck beating Alabama those nights. You can't.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with our prediction show. And until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.